This particular session is titled How I Expanded My Food Business. We have three speakers on our panel. To my immediate left here is Doug Fricano.
Well done.
And here's a quick bio on Doug. Being born Italian and having so many great cooks around him his whole life, Doug has had good food in his blood since the beginning. He knew his family had great spaghetti sauce that they cooked every Sunday, 5 quarts at a time, but never thought it to be duplicated in bulk. Once he found the perfect tomato, he was thrilled to learn it could be duplicated and not lose any of its integrity or flavor. After seeing approval from the State Department of Agriculture, Doug has been processing his sauce for over 6 years in Grand Rapids. Fricano spaghetti sauce available in several small retailers, select Spartan stores, and soon to be incorporated into the Meyer Made in Michigan submissions. Doug Fricano. Marshall Rader, and he is the founder of the Gluten-Free Bar in Grand Rapids. The Gluten-Free Bar, maker of great tasting and high-protein gluten-free snacks based in Grand Rapids. The Gluten-Free Bar, founded in 2011, is an emerging national brand and can be found in nearly 3,000 stores, including Meijer, Spartan Stores, Whole Foods, Walgreens, CVS, Stop & Shop, Shaw's, Hilton Hotels, and many other regional and independent customers. As of January 2012, the Gluten-Free Bar opened its first production facility in Ada and recently moved to a larger facility in Grand Rapids to support current business and future growth aspirations. The Gluten-Free Bar is proud to manufacture in Michigan and believes in-house manufacturing provides a competitive advantage in quality, cost, and marketability. Prior to the Gluten-Free Bar, Marshall's career included global sales, sales management, supply chain management, and purchasing. Marshall holds an MBA from Northwestern University and a BA in supply chain management from Michigan State University. Marshall Rader. And to my far left, we have Mike Freestone. He's the vice president of Good Life Granola. Mike was born and raised and still resides in Holland, Michigan. Mike has been an entrepreneur his entire working career and learned most of his business skills working in his parents' summer business at Ottawa Beach. Mike's mantra for being in sales and marketing for over 25 years is treat people like you would like to be treated, deliver a superior product or experience, and they will return again and again. Cornerstone to his business success is his wonderful wife and business partner, which he is so proud of, and their 4 great children, Mike Freestone. So I have 4 questions that I'm going to ask, and you can kind of answer them in any way you want. The first question that I have is, tell us about your current business and how it's grown. And whoever wants to take that one first.
We started out in it was a family recipe by my wife, and she's a great cook, and she wanted to have something that tasted good and could pronounce the ingredients. And we look back to when we made the leap. It was $100 she had made from a catering job for a friend's event she had at her house. And we bought a gallon of maple syrup, we bought 10 pounds of oats, we bought some pecans, and it was a really big deal because we didn't have any money. So we've taken that and we've since rolled it back, the oats and the money back into the company over and over again. And it's, again, I remember taking everything up in our car to the starting block, which props to Ron Steiner over there, who's the king at the starting block in Hart. And now we get product delivered by, we get pallets of oats. We do a lot larger delivery, but it really was just the beginning. Just a small time thing that we did, which grew out of a home-based business. So.
Yeah, I have a similar story to Mike. I can remember the exact same thing. I was diagnosed with celiac in 2010. So that kind of, the gluten-free market just 5 years ago was vastly different from today. So I was traveling a ton for my job and was looking for something with good ingredients, a good amount of protein, simple ingredients that tasted good, and there weren't any things out there. So I started to try to figure it out on my own. unfortunately, you don't really have any good skills in the kitchen, so I ended up partnering up with a pastry chef who had kind of worked around the world, who ended up being kind of is still a big part of our company and a big twist on what we do, which is simple ingredients for great taste. But yeah, I remember loading my car up, going to our co-packer, which is basically a bakery with a gluten-free kind of section, and loading my car up with a 5-pound bucket of brown rice syrup and 20 boxes of brown Rice Krispies that I bought from Amazon and whatever else, and going out there and trying to make it work. And so the first year and a half was really about getting customer feedback. Do people like it? Do they not like it? And then trying to figure out, okay, if people like this, how are we actually going to make this without losing the money every single bar? Because that's pretty much what we did for the first year.
Wonderful. I guess my business started the day I was born in the family of Fricano's Pizza. But first, I want to get in the mindset that I'm speaking to people that are aspiring entrepreneurs. Is that correct? You folks are the ones that are interested, you got a desire to develop and promote and market your own product. Is that where we're at? Okay. Like I say, my business started by being a member of the Fricano family. I was born and raised in the pizza business, and that goes far, when you're thinking about getting into the food processing business, because it's kind of already in your blood. I grew up with my family, my grandmas, my great uncles, and we always ate this most delicious, fantastic spaghetti sauce every Sunday. I mean, I think most Italians do. But anyway, as my life progressed, I graduated from college. I took over the family pizza business in Grand Haven. I moved to Grand Rapids and started my own. And I was plugging away pretty good, and I realized that, the spaghetti sauce is so good, and everybody seems to like it so well in my restaurant, that maybe I ought to consider bottling it, jarring it, and selling it. And once you get an idea like that, it's hard to put it down. And I thought, I will pursue this any way I possibly can until I find a wall that I can't quite pass, because there's always going to be hurdles, there's always going to be obstructions, and you never know what you're getting into. But you put one foot in front of the other, and you just see where it gets you. So that's exactly what I did. Like I said in my biography, I never thought I could duplicate the family recipe in bulk. I never really thought I could. I thought it was some magic that we did every Sunday morning after 11 o'clock Mass, that we sat down and ate. Well, I found an excellent product out in California, and I just, did my best to duplicate the flavor of the sauce in bulk. And when I tasted it, I thought, my goodness, that is exactly what we sat down to every Sunday. So I knew I was onto something. So then, you just, like I say, put one foot in front of the other. You got your concept, you got your idea, you believe in what you're doing, you've got the passion for it, and you talk to the health food officials and the environmental health, and you just see, what do I got to do to accomplish this? Tell me the things that is gonna obstruct me from pursuing my dream. And they never gave me any reason why I shouldn't do it. They approved everything that I had. So I just went for it, and I started, doing like 10 cases a month, and you just keep processing, but you got to get the product out in front of the people. You got to get the product in their mouth. So food sampling I thought was very critical. So any of the outlets that I had, I would ask them if I could sample my product, and they were all in favor of it. I mean, most of these people, if they stock your product, they want to sell it as well. So with these food samples and these demos that I would do, and I would see the looks on everybody's face, and I knew that everybody loved the spaghetti sauces. I hoped they would. I knew I was onto something good. So you just plug away and just do what you can, and you just keep processing, and you just keep buying more kettles, till you advance to 40-gallon steam kettles, till you pick up a couple employees that want to help you through the course of your week to get sauce in stock, because you believe in what you got. People like it. They're going to buy it. So you better make sure you got inventory. But the main thing is you got to love what you're doing. You got to have a passion for it. You got to believe in it. And you got to know what product you're making is the best product on the shelf. And if you got those things going for you, you just never look back. You just keep plugging away and see where it gets you. As of right now, I am in 40 select Spartan stores, but doggone if Meyer didn't finally get an order. Like a month ago, I delivered 240 cases, and now I have a hard time sleeping at night, because that's just a whole heck of a lot of sauce. I'm a small operator, But, you know, I've got the will and the drive, but, you know, that's a lot of spaghetti sauce to make. So it's just a good thing that I like doing what I'm doing and making that spaghetti sauce, because I think I'm going to be making a whole lot more of it in the future.
For nearly 9 years, West Michigan Driving Academy has been providing Muskegon County with complete, comprehensive driver's education. Students spend time both in the classroom and on the road in a state-approved driver's education vehicle with state-certified instructors. West Michigan Driving Academy is the only school in Muskegon that offers both day and evening classes throughout the summer. Accident-free with 150 years of combined experience, you will drive safe at West Michigan Driving Academy.
I've had dozens of people tell me, just cremate me when I die and then throw a big party. I'm sure you've heard someone say that too. I completely get it. Well, I want to help you throw that party. I've got tables and chairs and easels and boards. I've got sound systems and music. I've got caterers and food. And I've got all the people to set it up and break it down when it's all over. So why don't you let us here at Clocks help you with that party so you can focus on what's important, sharing the stories.
Hi, I'm Brenda Harris with Nexus Realty, turning dreams into an address. I support DSETV.
How do you prepare for growth?
I'll jump in. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things that Doug mentioned was, I think what he was kind of saying is, you never really know what's going to happen. You just kind of believe that you'll figure it out when you get there, which I think is a big part of it. You got to have some sort of infrastructure in what you're doing, and have a plan and understand what some of the risks are. Same thing that he said. One day you're like, I can't. I got way too much in inventory. The next day you're like, how am I going to make these next orders? So a big piece of it is planning ahead in terms of supply chain, all the inputs to what you're making, what's your real production capacity, but also just having a belief that you can do it when the challenge arises. I think, for better or worse in this business, a lot of times things take time. You might present your product to whether it's a 3-store chain or a 200-store chain, and they might love it today, but a lot of times they're like, okay, I love it, it's going on the shelf in 8 months. So a lot of times you kind of have some planning time that's built into the cycle. You shouldn't be afraid to go and sell it, and then figure it out later, because a lot of times you do have some time built in there, and at the same time just having a confidence that you'll figure it out. I think one of the things too, as you grow is, whether it's 40 Spartan stores or 200 Meyer stores or whatever it might be, is getting to that, preparing for that next step of growth means that you've got to make sure that the one you're currently working on is successful. So if that's 30 Spartan stores, you got to figure out how to make sure that's going to work, whether that's demos, strong promotions, whatever it is. You might not get that next step unless the first one's successful. So the big companies especially, they want to see that you've got this kind of example of what you've done in the past and how it's been successful. So I think it's really key for that next step of growth to be able to build some success stories and say, hey, this distributor took me on, and this is how I made it work, and these are the 20 stores they got me into, or Spartan put me in these 20 stores, and here's how I made it work, and now we're in 40. So they can start to see that you're building that chain of success, and you've got these case studies that show you understand what you need to do to make your product come off the shelf, because they want to sell just as much as you do. So I think that's really important to build on those early successes and make sure that you can sell that story to the next person.
I'd say good thing is to learn from your mistakes, because you're not going to be perfect along the way, of course. And then how did you solve the previous problem you had, because that can really help you grow to the next level. And also, what we have every year, my wife reminds me, he's like, what are we going to do different next year than we did this year? 2014 was a great year. We're happy where we're at. But what's going to be different in 2015? So then you also have to ask yourself for 2016 and beyond. But I love what Marshall says, to really remember your current customers, to keep them very happy, because you don't want to lose you know, you don't want to gain I don't know, Spartan and lose Meyer. You want to keep them both. So that's really you know, but just little incremental steps really helps build your business.
Talking about growth is definitely a huge part of the equation. But before you can even consider growth, you know, you got to get your foundation. And if your foundation's strong and the growth comes, you're going to be all right, because it just means you got to apply yourself. What do I got here? Your time and your energy is all you really need when the growth is there. You just got to apply yourself. You got to believe. You got to apply. And like I say, if you got the foundation of a good business and growth comes, it's going to be easy to accommodate that growth. But a lot of times people think growth, I think, equates investment and spending a lot of money. And if I'm going to grow, I got to spend money and all this and that. Don't ever think for a minute that spending money is going to, in a way, it's going to improve things, but you don't have to spend a nickel until whatever you're working with is completely outgrown its capacity. And you'll know when that happens. But when you think of growth, it does not mean capital investment. It does not mean spending money. It does not mean, you know, putting your neck out on the chopping block. Work with what you got. To me, growth just means working harder and spending more time at what you're doing and getting more jars in and more labels. And for me, you know, it's all food processing. But the greatest asset that you have in your business, the very greatest asset, and I think you know the answer to this, is yourself. So, I mean, if the growth is there and it's coming, you just apply yourself a little bit more, you work with what you got, you work with the foundation that you've got in place, and you just go with the growth, you go with the flow. Growth is a good thing, you want to see it happen, but I just don't think you got to spend the money for growth. I just think you got to apply yourself. And sure, growth comes with your product, and if your product is delicious, and if your product meets the demand, and if your product fulfills the need of your market, there's going to be growth. Trust me, there really is. But when these people buy your product and they bring it home after they spend money on it, they buy your product and they bring it home. When they eat it, they better love it, or the growth won't be there. And you'll know, I mean, you will feel it. You can tell. Like, I've been doing this for 6 years, and I didn't see growth for like 4 or 5 years. But I always felt in my heart, because I knew that my customers were reordering, and I knew if I got more customers, they would be reordering. So I knew the growth was on the horizon. And it's finally hit me right between the eyes, because growth is something that I'm experiencing right now, and it keeps me awake at night. But I guess that's a good problem. But anyway, as far as growth goes, if you've got a good product and you're running a good business and you've got good solid customers and you're getting repeat business, expect growth, because it's going to be there. And the more people that find out about your product, the more customers you're going to have, and everything's just going to like exponentially grow and grow and grow. And you'll be there for the growth. You'll be there for the growth because you got a solid business, you got a solid concept, you got a solid workforce. Bring it on, you know, bring it on. Growth is a good thing. I just don't think people need to spend a whole lot of money to try to create a growth. I think growth is inevitable if you're doing everything right and your product is the best product on the shelf.
Thank you very much. That's quite some wisdom there. I'm going to move on to the next question here. And in all successes, there's one or two things that really helped make that success possible. The question is, what were the keys to your growth? What's the thing that really made it happen?
Yeah, you know, if I had to distill it down, I mean, to me, I mean, I don't know if we're successful yet, but we're at least moving in the right direction. You know, product quality is number one. You know, through every stage of the growth process, you know, you might cut some corners by not hiring somebody and working an extra 5 hours, you know, a day yourself or something like that, but you can't cut corners in quality. You know, what the customer sees on the shelf has to be the best it can be every time. And, you know, what I mentioned earlier is, you know, a key to the growth is you've got to have got to be focusing on where you want to go to some extent, but what I mentioned in my last answer, is kind of whatever's right in front of you, you have to make sure that's successful before you move on to the next step, If that's your first 3 stores or your first 50 stores, you've got to make that next step successful before you really can move to the next step. And I think, in terms of the infrastructure, what Doug was talking about, if you have a good product and you can scale the quality, then you can make it work. Scaling the quality is a challenge when you go from, we used to make 500 bars in a day to 2,000 to 15 to 20,000. That's what you need to make sure you keep at the same level, because somebody might come to the store and buy it one time, but if they don't come back, you're not going to survive, and your customers are going to end up taking you out off the shelves. You need the person in my world that buys 1 bar to say, oh, I'll give it a shot and see if I like it, to come back and buy 4 the next time to really make it. So, and that only happens because they like the product and the quality's there.
I think 2 things is like one of our turning points was when we met one of the buyers from Meyer. We met him at the Beer, Food, and Wine Show in Grand Rapids, which is next week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So a wonderful event. And that was about 4 years ago. It was a kind of unconventional place for us to be as a granola. I mean, why would you be at a Beer, Food, and Wine event? But it worked out well, and I think that was a part of our networking effort. You could spread the word, sell a few bags of granola, have some beer and wine. It was a good event. But also, I think to really keep track of who you know and where you meet people, because I have other people that we've met since then. A former distributor of ours who's no longer in business put us in touch with somebody else who could be a potential large. So just keep track of the people you meet, and be nice to everybody, of course. Treat everybody well, so they'll have a good memory of you. But I go back to the Beer, Food, and Wine was a turning point for us. It kind of got us into 6 Meyer stores, which was a nice start, and then ended up getting in the Made in Michigan section as well. But really keep networking, and you might do some unconventional shows as well. That you just don't know where you're going to meet the next person who could be a benefit to you. And if you have a good product, you're just trying to share your product with them.
I'd love to shop on the net. Just look at all this stuff.
We're pretty net savvy at Grange Insurance. We understand what the web does well
Buying insurance online? That's another matter.
and not so well.
Your partner in protection.
In the 150 years we've been in business, many things have changed. Our greatest achievements are rooted in the things that haven't. Years ago, the person you called banker was also the person you called friend. When it came to service, there were fewer layers and friendlier smiles. And banks earned the trust of their customers and community while working tirelessly not to lose it. At Independent Bank, all this remains true today. Sure, we've made advances that help customers bank more conveniently and more comfortably. But at the end of the day, we know that people really need a trustworthy partner committed to their financial goals, dreams, and aspirations. And we've been happy to be that partner since 1864.
The fresh and tasty deli located inside the Henry Street Health Hut offers a variety of options for every diet. Organic, raw, vegan, vegetarian, gluten, or grain-free. You can sample specialty sandwiches, or you can build your own wrapper salad by choosing from a wide selection of fresh meats, cheeses, veggies, and dressings. From gourmet soups to smoothies, shakes, juices, herbal teas and coffee to mouth-watering desserts. The fresh and tasty deli is here to serve you.
What you do when you're in this food processing business is just a daily, ongoing process. You never rest on your laurels. You never think you're there. You're always trying to improve yourself. You never think really that you've made it, because if you ever get that mentality, you might lose your edge, you might lose your drive, you might lose your passion. As far as my good fortune, it's all about quality. Fricano spaghetti sauce is a very top quality product. There's no water added. I was always, brought up in the belief that quality sells. I mean, Fricano's pizza, we always made it with the best ingredients available, and we've been doing that for 65 years. And the same holds true for my spaghetti sauce. You put the best ingredients in a jar with your very best recipe, people are going to like it. So I really am a strong believer that quality sells. Sure, I could buy a cheaper tomato, I could dilute it, I could do all these things, but I would never, ever, ever infringe on the integrity of this sauce recipe. So as far as equating my good fortune, I guess it's because quality sells. And then, people are a huge part of this whole formula too. I mean, the people that you go out and meet, the people that, are going to be your customers, the people that you're going to rely on. I mean, these gentlemen have said it better than I ever could, but they've got to mean everything to you because they are your lifeline. And you take care of them, you're courteous, you're kind, you let them know that you're inspired, you let them know that you mean business, you want to do business, you let them know that you're going to give them everything you've got to make your product sell out of their store. And if they feel that, and if they sense that enthusiasm and ambition, they're not going to tell you no. This is nothing about me, but I've made a lot of cold calls and I've hardly ever had anybody tell me no. Because they know that it's passionate to me. I mean, when they see the sweat and they see me, jittery and just, really clamoring to have their business, they feel it. And I think they sense it and they appreciate it. So you do that for them, and you let them know that you mean business and you want their business and you're going to work for them, and you give them a good top quality product, and you take care of them. I guess all these things, as you add them together, it's hard to fail. It really is hard to fail. So you just plug away, and if you know you got some, you know right from the start. You really, really know right from the get-go if your business is going to make it or not. It doesn't take 6 years to determine if you're going to stay in business or not. You're going to know in the first year. You really, really are. You're going to know just by the reaction of your customers, by the reaction of the people that sample your food, by the reaction of your employees, and by your own gut. You just know. So as far as success goes, I'll probably never achieve success, but the thing is that I love what I'm doing. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it because, like I told you, it's in my blood. I just enjoy everything about it. Every aspect of it means something to me. I look forward to it every day. My grandma Fricano used to have a saying, and she had a lot of them. Some of them I can't repeat, but this one I gotta repeat because it carries so much weight. But Grandma used to say, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. So I take that approach and I apply it, and I know that the people that are my customers, they love what they're doing, and you're just reaching out to enhance their business through what you can do. And I mean, it's just a really good relationship once you get these things all in the flow and all in the process. I mean, everything just starts to click on its own, and if you've been doing it a while, it's pretty much automatic. So success will come someday. Success to me is being up on the Big Manistee River steelhead fishing, but then you got to come back to reality, and you got to get back in the kitchen, and you got to make another 480 jars of sauce. But that's what I love to do, so I feel very fortunate.
Wow, thanks. I heard a lot of keys here, but if I can just reiterate just a couple, it sounds like quality, consistency in the product, right, for repeat sales, and passion. I mean, those are kind of three keys, right? That's something for a toolbox.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's another question I'm going to throw out there. You've been doing this a while, and you've made some mistakes, or maybe not. What would you do differently?
Where do I start? Let's see.
Start with the biggest one.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I still probably don't do a good job of today, and could have maybe saved some money or accelerated the process a little bit, is just maybe having better focus. And we still struggle with that today. And, you know, once you get a product out there and get started, you know, your friends or your family will be like, hey, you need to go call this place, or why aren't you guys trying to sell to this company, or, you know, your product really fits better here, or you're going to get all these, you know, positive, kind of generally positive comments, people trying to motivate you or give you ideas. And then you'll think about, especially, you know, when you start out, if you're in, who knows, you know, 1 store or 100 stores, there's so many customers to take it, so many places to bring it, so many different product ideas. Really kind of distilling that down to what do you want to do, you know, what's the best financial decision, and then, you know, what do your resources allow you to do? Allows you to focus on the customers, that makes more sense. You know, an example that just recently, you know, someone wants to buy one of our products in bulk and, you know, not labeled, not packaged. And, you know, I gave this a good hour of thought, and I'm just like, you know, to work this back in the supply chain means that I've got to keep inventory of all this stuff. You know, I've got to have specific manufacturing days for it. And the waves this creates in the business to support things like that are really a distraction from the core business, which we're trying to do is make the best gluten-free products we can to make customers happy. Not that, you know, it's really hard when you get started to turn down business, right? Someone's like, hey, I want you to do this for me, and you want to say yes all the time, and you generally should say yes, but there's those times when it's just a distraction that's really not allowing you to focus on what your company's really about, what your product's really about, and you need to be judicious with your time and say, you know, I'm working on this, my goal is to get into Whole Foods or whatever and natural food stores, I'm going to branch out from there, but I can't do everything all at once. I think we all fall into that trap of multitasking and trying to do everything all at once, and it can be detrimental to, you know, both cost and, you know, success sometimes.
Thank you.
One thing I wish we would have done earlier is switch over our packaging. We were initially buying blank bags, affixing the labels front and back, and I watched all of Monk on Netflix, and I watched all of Psych, and I watched movies, and I did this hour after hour after hour, and I was the one who did it. Sure, and I wish we would have switched that earlier. It was a really big hit to do that with die charges and everything else to get your own stand-up packaging. Their stand-up pouches manufactured, but it was a game changer for us with a brand new look, and also freed up hours and hours of time. So that was one thing. Also, I wish I would have known the way the food industry operated ahead of time. You learn as you go along, and I always know from previous business endeavors you can never have enough margin because you always have distributors and brokers and stuff. And we're okay. We had right margins that we could do all this, but still, if you would have known up front the way it operates, and you know, for us, a broker's been a great thing that we met here last year, has really helped us a lot. But I wish I would have known that all ahead of time, but you embrace it a little more as you learn it as you go along, as opposed to, you know, just here's the book on the food industry. There's not that.
Appliance shopping can be confusing. At Seaway Appliance, we make it easy as 1, 2, 3. 1, we have a great selection of home appliances to choose from, and we offer competitive pricing.
2, the staff is friendly and knowledgeable, and our customers can enjoy a no-pressure experience.
3, we have our own professional service department.
Plus, because we're a brand source store, you know you're getting the best deal possible, saving you money.
Where are you going to shop for your next appliance or TV? Seaway Appliance. Thank you for your business.
Seaway Appliance.
City Glass and Mirror features glass for every purpose, servicing both residential and commercial. Their full-service showroom displays every aspect of what City Glass has to offer: handrails, closet systems, replacement windows, bath hardware, shower doors, and custom mirrors. They even offer auto glass and storefronts to see all they have to offer. City Glass and Mirror, located at 100 West 7th Street in Grand Haven and 631 Commerce Court, Suite 10 in Holland.
Buckwheat Schultz & Associates Incorporated, investment products and services. For more information, call 799-9889 or 866-799-9889.
Typical issues are price points, right? And when I talk to people in the food business, the first thing I recommend to them is to charge more from the very beginning, because it is virtually impossible, as you're going to find out, to raise your price. Virtually impossible, because you've already kind of set the bar. And focus sounds like an issue. So this is a great plug for me. My name is Paul Werner, and I'm with the MSU Product Center. And although there's no book on how to start a food business, there's people like me and like Diane over here, and Ron, who's done this a while. There are people out there that can help you with your food business, that have experienced issues like this in the past. And all you have to do, to finish my plug, is to sign up over here in the main hall. We have computers set up, and we'll kind of help you through these issues.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yes.
I
Go
interrupted.
ahead. Yes.
I just thought this is very, very important to know, but there's rules and guidelines that are established by the Michigan Department of Ag. Just make sure your product is safe. I'm not trying to scare anybody off, but there's a thing called pH levels that you really got to become familiar with. And a high pH is a very unsafe product. I'm just saying this just so you're aware of it, but the lower the pH, the safer the product is, the less you got to worry about. Takes a lot of the headaches away. So pH is a huge thing. You ought to study up on it. I'm fortunate enough, two things I got to monitor is my pH and my temperature. Beyond that, I'm good to go. You got a HACCP plan that's in place. You got to get one of those. It's a huge deal. It's like a hazard analysis correctional plan. Be prepared for that. They cost about $500, but it's mandatory. The Michigan Department of Ag will not give you permission, give you a permit to process anything till you have one. So write these two things down: HACCP plan and pH levels, and do a little research. And you ought to find out what the pH is of your product before you even start getting into the processing, because it can be a stickler, can kind of be a sticky little item. HACCP plan, pH. That's something you really got to keep in mind going in.
And thanks, Doug. And again, the MSU Product Center counselors can help you with that, kind of walk you through the process. We have the capacity to do pH testing and whatnot. But it's not about the Product Center, it's about the panel. And we have about 25 minutes or so for Q&A. So I'd like to go ahead and take questions now from you folks.
Young lady, did you have a question? That's my daughter.
Oh, okay. Here's a question right in the front row here.
I know you started, from you're saying you started in the business, you grew up in it. For you guys more, it sounds like this is something you started at home. How did you, when you talk about I want to expand and grow, you started this at home, what did you have to do to get it to that next level? I know a lot about here talking about with the Product Center, but you know, I'm at a point where it's like I'm either staying at home and being cottage industry, or where did you go to make that determination that I want to go to the next level?
Can I repeat that question?
Yeah.
Did everybody hear the question? It's what do you do to go from home to expand? Thank you.
Ours was to find an incubator kitchen to start out of and have a licensed facility. We knew that, I don't even know if cottage was around when we started. It might have just been the beginning, but we had to have a place to produce it. So we have a place. We started up in Hart, starting block, and it's again associated with the Product Center, has been. So it was a good place to start, and it's a licensed facility. So all those barriers are gone at that point. You have to be licensed, but individually by your state inspector too. So we just knew that we didn't want to, cottage is one level, but you're kind of maxed out what you can do, and we needed to have that because we had contacts with stores right away, local stores and stuff like that. So that was to find a spot to make it if you want to move out of the house, and Michigan has a wonderful selection, and I'm sure the Product Center can point to places as well that would be locations to operate out of or to start at.
Yeah, I would pretty much say the same thing. I think, we started with a co-packer early on, and, depending on what your product is, you probably, it could be really expensive to have your own facility. So, finding a co-packer who's comfortable with, smaller volumes. A lot of times talking to a co-packer, especially the big ones, they want, big runs that most of us aren't capable of. And even now, if we talk to co-packers, we're still barely touching what they want in terms of volume. But you can find some, like we do a little bit of co-packing for people, where you find someone that believes in your product, that's willing to do it once a month or something like that for you. What I used to do is I found a place that would make a product, and I actually went there and made it with them. So I was kind of like, I was the labor for the day to help make it. So you gotta just find someone who's willing to help you kind of get to that next step in the scale, whether that's a starting block type shared kitchen. There are a lot of shared kitchens where you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
There's a great website. It's called culinaryyincubator.org, .org.com, and it's got a national listing of all the shared use kitchen incubators in the country, and you can do a search by state. It was kind of lonely when we got started back in 2006, but I think today, Diane, I don't know, there's at least 6 of them. A couple in the audience here with us. So
okay.
Get on the site, and if you want to make the product yourself, that's a business decision you have to make. Co-packer is fine if you can find one, like you say, that'll accept, doesn't knock you off your chair with minimums.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to make your product yourself, like nobody else can make it like you can, like you said, Doug, a kitchen incubator or some licensed kitchen is a good place to start.
We had a question right up here.
Yeah, hi, my name is Mary Bertakis. I'm an organic farmer in Hillsdale, Michigan. Marshall, you have quite a background school-wise in business. You have an MBA, is that correct?
Right.
So I'm curious as to how much of that MBA helped you get that success in the 3 years it's been, and what, not from that background, did you have to learn and do to be a better business person?
Did everybody get the question? The question, and I'll kind of shorten it, is what part of your MBA helped you in this business, and what outside knowledge did you gain from doing this?
Yeah, good question. I'd love to say that like the MBA is super critical. It's really not.
I'm hoping it's not.
Right, it's not. I think one area it has helped me is in terms of financial planning, working with the banks, understanding, things like accrual and cash accounting, to be able to work through statements with them, and doing some long-term financial planning. Outside of that, I don't think it's really, been a huge benefit for me. Some of the experiences I had going to grad school were great, but I don't think they necessarily prepared me. It was more about my jobs previously, just kind of, working in purchasing and understanding how, ingredients might come in, or, working in sales, working in customer service was a lot more important than, the education.
Okay. Thanks. We have a question right here.
Yeah. Did all of you have a business plan, and did you follow it, or how closely has it panned out?
I'm going to write one in about 10 years as a kind of a retroactive.
The question is did you have a business plan? Okay.
And did they follow it?
And did you follow the business plan? Go ahead. Sorry.
No. We bought ingredients, mixed them together, sold them for more than what we purchased them for, and we keep doing that over and over. That's the basis of any. I've got business plans on my computer that I've started about a dozen times, and I just keep going back. I got to go back to the kitchen. So.
Right. Yeah, I did do a business plan. I think it should be super brief, and I think what you're trying to prove in a business plan is this concept viable? If your business plan included making, who knows what it is, like grasshopper bars, although those are getting popular actually. But, you've got to make sure that there's a market out there for your product. That's basically what our business plan was. Because the gluten-free market back in 2010 was not very much, and so it was, where's the rest of the world in gluten-free? Is there going to be a market here long-term? We weren't really, if you get focused on a spreadsheet and like how many stores you're going to get into in 6 months or 2 years, like that's way too much detail. Business plan should be one sheet of like what you're going to do and what the market looks like.
I'm pretty much a seat of the pants kind of guy, but I got a folder full of notes because you're always thinking, you're always there's always positive energy going through, and when you got a business going. But as far as a formal business plan, I never really had one. Although I wish I would get a little bit more integrated with the technology that's available nowadays. Just to try and streamline, formulate, and get everything more organized. Like this gentleman said, you're so busy working your business that you kind of neglect some of the other areas. I guess that's where maybe I need to hire somebody to help me in that regard. But as far as a formal business plan, no. I think it's a good idea because I think it gets you on track. I think it gets you focused. I think it gets you kind of connected to what it is you're trying to accomplish. But what Marshall said, you got to have a viable concept, and you got to know it's going to work. You got to believe whatever you're attempting is gonna take hold, and it's going to work.
Can I help answer this one too?
By all means.
I work with a lot of product center clients, and they all ask me if I need a business plan, and I say yes and no. Okay, because yes, you absolutely, positively, without a doubt, must have a business plan if you are seeking funding from any source other than your own back pocket. Okay, that is a completely different document than what these guys just talked about, which is business planning. Okay, so business planning is something that you do to grow your business, to make sure you have a big enough margin, that there's a market out there, and that you can set your trajectory, which is, by the way, a one-page document. Okay, so business planning is a completely different document and a completely different purpose than a business plan.
ASAP Auto Sales, located at 2486 South Getty Street in Muskegon, offers a wide selection of reasonably priced used vehicles from cars and trucks to vans, SUVs, and four-wheel drives. With new selections coming in every day, ASAP's lot is always full, which means whenever you drop in, there's about 100 vehicles to choose from. With a wide selection of vehicles, both domestic and import, they have it all. ASAP Auto Sales, 231-830-9000.
Beginning as a lumber company in 1911, Fredericks Construction has been servicing the Muskegon area since 1969. Family owned and operated, they specialize in roofing, siding, windows, insulation, additions, doors, decks, and more. Located at 1940 Commerce Street in beautiful downtown Muskegon, their phone number is 231-722-3937. When you want quality workmanship, you want Fredericks Construction.
Hi, I'm Wendy from Healthy Focus. We provide home health care services to people in Western Michigan. We can supply RNs, LPNs, home health aides, certified nurse aides to meet your needs and keep you in your home.
Established in 1973 by Paul M. Lattis, Lattis & Hoops Law Offices has been a multi-service law firm specializing in accident cases, personal injury, wrongful death, Social Security disability, divorce, probate and wills, and real estate. When it comes to choosing the right attorney for your legal needs, don't choose out of town, choose local legal counsel. It really pays. It's experience when it counts. It's Lattis & Hoops Law Offices.
We got a question back here.
Yeah, can you guys all speak to your marketing efforts, specifically paid advertising and social media in terms of the growth? I know when you're starting out, it's all organic, and that's kind of what we've heard so far, but I'd be interested to hear if there's anything in social media or paid arenas that we haven't heard about.
Did everybody hear that question? Yes? Okay, all right.
Making my spaghetti sauce, I can do it with my eyes closed. Where the rubber hits the road is definitely marketing. That's why I mentioned I sometimes think I should devoid myself of my pizza business so I can be more out on the road selling my product, because marketing's everything. I mean, if you don't get it into the customer's hands and if the customers don't buy it, you got nothing to process. My efforts as far as marketing is pretty much just straight cold calls, just staying in front of the people, keeping abreast on their needs, you know, just a little bit of email correspondence. Sure, we've got a website for our spaghetti sauce, and you know that's always good to have whenever you're prospecting. But as far as advertising, no way. You know, it's just too expensive. I'm not gonna, just my labels alone for these jars are like 30 cents each. Advertising's a pretty big nut to crack, so I don't think I'll ever worry about advertising. Like I say, I hope quality sells, and I just hope it pushes its way through the market on its own.
For us, you know, our goal is maybe slightly different, and my brother, I have the good fortune, my brother, who's my partner in the business, worked at Google for 10 years. So, you know, your question about, you know, kind of online and social, a lot of times I feel like I'm 20 years older than I am because I don't use Twitter or Facebook. I just kind of don't have time for it. But he knows all that stuff really well. And so from the beginning, we've really worked on online presence, our online store, you know, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And it really has helped a lot. You know, we do a lot with, for example, there's a lot of bloggers out there that have strong followings that want to try new products and things like that. And we still put a lot of effort into that. And we've helped, you know, a pretty strong grassroots following. Outside of
sending them, are you sending them product, those bloggers?
Oh yeah. A lot of times they'll contact us, but we've gone through, you know, 30-day periods where we reach out to as many bloggers as we can, offer them our products to try and post on their website if they like them. If they don't, maybe they don't. I mean, you get bad reviews too. It's food. At the end of the day, not everyone's going to like your product. You know, it's just the way it is, no matter what it is. People don't like chocolate cake. I mean, that's the way it goes. So we've done a lot with social media, or at least, you know, and we've done a lot with trying to be supportive of the gluten-free community. We've got a gluten-free blog that kind of talks about gluten-free issues and celiac and gluten intolerance issues. So outside of that, we don't do much traditional advertising.
We do social media. We've never, well, we paid for some advertising in, there was, if you ever heard of iwearyourshirt.com, gentleman Jason Sadler, I know him and know his mother and stuff, and he would wear a shirt every day and you'd pay him for it, but he had like hundreds of thousands of followers. So we did some unconventional things, but it was like, we're not talking thousands, we're talking hundreds, but that translated into some more exposure on Today's Show. We did some, you know, guerrilla marketing and sent samples there after he had met one of the people he was interviewed there. So we've done some unconventional stuff, but we spend more of our time sampling. The tasting is the whole thing. We're not going to take out a full page ad or anything like that, but it's networking, get your name out there, and get people to write articles about you, and that goes a lot further than just, you know, ads in the business journals and stuff like that. We won't do that.
If you were at the keynote address this morning, the Garden Fresh, I'm not sure what his title was, but he said after so many years in business, he's never spent a nickel on advertising, and he does all like trade promotions. And working in an advertising field, if you do not have a background in advertising, or know somebody who has created effective advertising that actually works, you are probably going to be very disappointed in your advertising buy. Most entrepreneurs will buy advertising like this. Here's a check for $2,000. Okay, and it doesn't work because you buy that advertisement from a salesperson, right? Not from an advertising professional. So we had a question over here. Yes.
I'm just wondering, positive or negative things that you've run into with distributors or using distribution.
We don't have enough time. You know, I mean, obviously they run the gamut from small distributor that you talk to them, you call on the phone, and it's the guy driving the truck, to you can only interface by email and you can almost never talk to a person.
What happens to your margin with a distributor?
So yeah, as the bigger the distributor gets, in general, my experience, the bigger the distributor is, the more your margin gets eaten up. And the harder it is to resolve those issues. Small distributor might charge you something, and then you call them and say, hey, what's this from? Oh, I'm sorry, we made a mistake, we'll credit you back some of that. Bigger distributor, especially as a company, like us, in this room, we're not able, you might call the big distributor or email them, and chances are you're not gonna get that resolved. So the bigger they are, the more money they're gonna take, generally speaking, in my experience. And generally, the longer it takes to get things done and get things fixed when things do go wrong.
And I think that sometimes you may think that, oh, I've got a distributor now I've made it, and then I can stop doing something else. You can never stop doing what you're doing, promoting yourself.
Right.
Just because you have a distributor or broker or anybody else, don't stop doing your own self-promotion.
Right.
Coordinate with them, or you don't want to be knocking on the same person's door. One person calls Meyer one day and you call the next day and you're both bugging them. Coordinate, but don't think you're ever going to stop doing what you're doing. You're going to have to do it all on top of that. But they're necessary. I don't want to say evils. They're benefits, but they're necessary.
They're very mandatory. I mean, you're not going to get into these bigger outlets if you want to be in the bigger outlets without a distributor. I've never had a problem with the distributors, but they always want a discount. They always want, they always got ideas, and they want to tell you this, that, and the other thing. But like these gentlemen said, don't think they're out there doing your job for you, because they're not. They're basically warehouses and delivery people. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. They got your product in stock, and when they get a phone call, they deliver it. That's it. They don't really go. They don't reach out. They don't do the job that you would do way much better than they would. That's why you got to stay in front of the customers. You always got to be making cold calls. That's marketing. I mean, that's marketing. It's grassroots as it gets. Knocking on a door, bringing in a couple jars of sauce, saying, with your permission, would you taste this sauce and tell me what you think? Nobody's going to say no to that. And then they open up the jar and they take a spoon and they taste it. They go, wow, that's really good. That's your job. You're never going to get a distributor to do that for you, so don't ever plan on it. But it's nice when they give you an order, trust me. That's kind of cool. And then when you get the check in the mail, that's even better.
Well, and I think also make sure you support your distributors, because I know other people I've met in the food industry and shows I've been at, and they're like, well, yeah, I got an order from so-and-so, but I can make really good money. I can make an extra 20 points if I deliver that direct. It's like, well, congratulations, but you didn't deepen your relationship with your distributor. So really it's better to say, great, call my distributor, and your distributor is really happy that they got that big order and sees that you're kind of playing ball with them. Don't go for that extra few dollars and sell it to distributor. I think it's really important to support them. So,
Do you understand what he meant by that?
Yep.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to sound too negative, but, they do a lot for you. I think the point that these guys are making too is that when you get the distributor, it's about having a plan with them. So they might carry your product, but you really need to still go sell it either with them or for them. They might do a little bit of selling for you, but generally you got to have a plan how you're going to make this distributor work. Because it's not just their job to go and sell it, it's your job to still do that.
I had a lot of opportunity to sell my case of sauce by myself and deliver it myself for $60 a case. Once I got a distributor on board, I turned it all over to him.
Yeah.
I was the greatest guy in the world. So now I'm only getting $54 a case, but I got a distributor now that's handling and taking care of a whole lot more stores than what I could have. And to me, it was a win-win.
Your vehicle is an important part of your life. It gets you where you need to go. Take care of it by bringing it to Van's Car Wash and Quick Lube. At Van's Quick Lube, every vehicle gets up to 6 quarts of high-quality Quaker State oils, new oil filter, and a free car wash with every service. If you need a quick wash that is done right the first time, then stop by any convenient Van's Car Wash and experience the hand-scrubbed and Simonized difference. Keep your car running and looking great at Van's Car Wash and Quick Lube. 6 convenient locations, 1 near you.